Hare Krishna. We are extremely fortunate to have with us His Holiness Jaydvaita Swami Maharaj. His Holiness Jaydvaita Maharaj is a very senior member of ISKCON, as we all know, and he has served a very, very important position as an editor for nearly all the books of Srila Prabhupada, which were published during His Divine Grace's lifetime. And he was very, very young when he his divine service to Srila Prabhupada, which was assigned to him, was just to staple the booklet. And then he later on went on to typing manuscripts, publishing Srila Prabhupada's dictation, typesetting, proofreading, and everything that goes on in order to make a perfect book. At various colleges, universities, especially in the United States. In 1978, he accepted sannyas, and in 85 and 86, he spent about a year and a half traveling with a party of pilgrims on Padyatra and practically covering many, many towns and villages, staying only for one night at one place. His Holiness Charu Swami Maharaj Prabhu, he co-founded the Vrindavan Institute, which is making significant contributions towards the education of devotees in ISKCON in terms of Shastras. From 88 till 2017, he has served as the director of Srila Prabhupada's publishing house, which is the well-known Bhakti Vedanta Book Trust, which Srila Prabhupada calls his own department. From 91 to most of the 98, he served as the editor-in-chief of BTG, Back to Godhead magazine. And after that, he served as the director of Vedanta Archives, which is the official repository from Srila Prabhupada's life and work. So like that, he has had many, many wonderful contributions for Srila Prabhupada's divine movement. He has written award-winning book, the Ecclesiastes, the Bhagavad Gita and the Meaning of Life, which is an award-winning book. And in hundreds of places in many, many countries, he teaches. It's a long list. And at this critical moment, we are extremely fortunate and extremely grateful to him for giving his auspicious association, and we beg for his blessing so that we can also cultivate a drop of the divine mood with which he has rendered service to Srila Prabhupada. So let us greet him in our traditional way by one time chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. His Holiness Jaydvaita Swami Maharaj ki jai.
Thank you very much. As a practical matter, I see that the reception here is sometimes a little choppy, that there's like almost 400 people on this channel. So I think if you have your camera on, devotees who are on this channel, if you have your camera on, if you turn it off, that will help with the bandwidth. Then the only other thing I need to know is, do you want to give me some idea of my time frame, Prabhus? How long you've allotted, or what your schedule is like?
8 o'clock should be fine, Maharaj.
Give me how much time from now, otherwise I have to convert time zones. Please. For how long would you like me to speak?
25 minutes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you. Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Shaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschate Shatarine Vancha Kolpatarubhyascha Kripasindhubhyevacha Titanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I think Rasananda Prabhu, you can also turn your video off. That will be good for bandwidth. Thank you. I was just reminded that one time when I was, maybe while I was on Padayatra, we came, or some other time, I was in India, maybe it was Calcutta, maybe it was someplace else, and it was rainy season. And as you know, rainy season is very uncomfortable. The cloth doesn't dry, everything's always sticky. So the rain itself is so inconvenient, whether it rains or it doesn't rain. There's always this sticky feeling. So it's so uncomfortable. And I mentioned something to Bhakti Charu Maharaj, how it's uncomfortable. A little digestion also falls apart or declines. So he said to me, he said, the rainy season is my favorite season. The rainy season is my favorite season. And he quoted a verse, a line from Rabindranath Tagore, which of course I don't know because he quoted it in Bangla. But the conclusion was that the rainy season he liked, Maharaj liked, said because it's conducive to that melancholy feeling of the rainy season. It makes one philosophical. In other seasons, in spring, you can feel like you can enjoy. But in the rainy season, it gives rise to this melancholy, which is suitable for thought, for philosophy. So this is the more than the rainy season. I just heard from one of my godbrothers that my godbrother Burijan Prabhu had said that Bhakti Charu Maharaj's departure ushers in the decade of tears. So many will be leaving, but that's true and painful, but that's general, and this is particular, that whoever else leaves whenever else in the decade, now we're feeling the absence of His Holiness Bhakti Charu Maharaj. The one time, well, just trying to organize my thoughts here a little bit. My personal association with Maharaj goes back to, I think when Prabhupada, must have been like 1975, in Bombay. And Prabhupada, 75, or maybe it was later, it could have been 76 or even 77. And Prabhupada, maybe not 77, I don't think. Anyway, around there. And the temple, Juhu temple, was under construction. But Prabhupada had already moved in to his rooms there as a way of pushing the devotees to work hard to finish. And it was at that time that Bhakti Charu Maharaj was serving Prabhupada. He was a brahmachari then. His name, I think, was Gopinath at that time. And I saw him and I thought, who's this guy with Prabhupada? I think I had a sufficient amount of false ego that I was thinking that I was a very senior devotee. And who is this newcomer? And I wasn't thinking disdainfully. I wasn't thinking there was anything wrong with him, but he's a newcomer. That's who he is. And I didn't really appreciate at the time what kind of newcomer he was. He's the kind of newcomer who, when he comes new, comes with the whole background of transcendental credit already in his life. We have so many of us who come from, where we've been retrieved from the dustbin and sort of dusted off, and somehow we're being pressed into service. But Bhakti Charu Maharaj came with just obvious transcendental credit that anyone but me at the time could perceive. There are so many wonderful things about him. The Prabhupada name, when he gave him sannyas, he gave him just the appropriate name, Bhakti Charu Maharaj, because he's so graceful and beautiful in everything he did, naturally so. There are those who have to work hard to look good. They have to do something to try to look a little good. But Bhakti Charu Maharaj, by his very nature, his personal features were beautiful, his voice was beautiful, his nature was beautiful. Everything about him was very beautiful. And a beauty combined with gentleness, because beauty can be, what's the word? Showy. But his beauty was enhanced by his natural humility and his dedication to, that's the other beauty. Even Vyasadeva was beautiful, although he was so ugly that he make you want to close your eyes or turn pale. But Bhakti Charu Maharaj, apart from being outwardly beautiful, his real beauty was his deepest beauty was his love and devotion for Srila Prabhupada especially. I remember when I was in Vrindavan, I came to Vrindavan in Srila Prabhupada's last days, fortunately. And I'd been there not very long, and Bhakti Charu Maharaj came. I don't remember the sequence of events where he'd been and how he came. But he came, I remember it was in the evening. The Prabhupada's room was dark, and Prabhupada was lying in bed. And Bhakti Charu Maharaj came, and it must have been maybe it was even the middle of the night. And Maharaj came in and offered obeisances and approached Srila Prabhupada. And he was so loving and gentle. He began speaking to Srila Prabhupada in Bengali, I think, if I recall, but in such gentle tones, in such a soothing way that he was just perfect. His love was obvious. He knew what to do, what was needed. His mood of being soothing and comforting was exactly appropriate. I remember him standing or kneeling by Prabhupada's head, and if I recall, just massaging Prabhupada's head or soothing Prabhupada's head. And I just thought that this is how a disciple should be. This is a real, this is how a disciple should be, just like that. He himself tells the story of how he was cooking for Prabhupada. Of course, everyone there was on a emotional roller coaster, as we've all been for the past couple of weeks, hoping that he would stay, but knowing he might leave. And sometimes it would seem it was hopeless, and sometimes it would seem that there was hope. And Prabhupada wasn't eating. So Maharaj told the story of how Prabhupada smelled Kachoris cooking in the kitchen and asked Maharaj to find out what that was. And he said, "Oh, Prabhupada, they're cooking Kachoris. Prabhupada, bring me some." And Maharaj became happy. He at once went. But then Tamal Krishna Maharaj blocked him at the door. "Where do you think you're going?" "No, I'm going to get some Kachoris for Srila Prabhupada." "You can't do that. He won't be able to digest them," because Prabhupada was not eating. But Maharaj ducked through somehow and brought back the Kachoris. And to tell the story in short form, Prabhupada was completely satisfied and the Kachoris digested perfectly. Oh, that's just a side story, which is just because Maharaj, I remember how much he relished telling it also. How Maharaj had a very sweet relationship also with Tamal Krishna Maharaj. He loved Tamal Krishna Maharaj so much. Tamal Krishna Maharaj was, of course, he was bossy, but he was expert manager, expert servant, and that loving relationship with Tamal Krishna Maharaj was very, very sweet. But with so many devotees, Bhakti Charu Maharaj had very sweet, loving dealings with his godbrothers, with others. He was always very he always paid attention to us. We might not be the most important godbrother or god sister, but he would give attention, and even forget godbrothers, god sisters, any devotees. He was so generous and kind to us. I remember one, and particular also about how to treat different devotees. I remember one time we were driving in a car in Mayapur within the compound, and as you know, there are these posts that are meant to block traffic so that people don't just drive around in their cars only when it's necessary. So we were driving, and in the distance, I think Chandrasekhar Prabhu Maharaj's disciple was driving, and in the distance, some devotee was pulling out the post so that we could drive through. And Maharaj suddenly said, "Don't let him do that. What's wrong with you?" I thought, what's going on here? And then he said, "He's my god brother. Don't let him do that." Maharaj was so conscious that how can you let my god brothers do this work? They're not my servants. You're my servant, but they're not my servants. So we had that perfect sense of how to deal appropriately with everyone. He was such a cultured person. When we started the Vrindavan Institute for Higher Education, he was one of the first teachers, and he taught his course on Vaishnava etiquette. And I learned more in that course than I'd learned in the past 12 or 15 years I'd been a devotee, just about so many things: how to act, how to serve, how to chant, how to associate with devotees, how to respect people in different ways, what to do, what not to do. So many things that aren't in the books that a cultured person knows and an uncultured person doesn't know. And not just a cultured person, because I see so many people from India who also don't know these things. So it wasn't just Indian culture that we could have gotten from anyone from Bharat, but it was the highest standard of Vaishnav culture. He had the heart of a Vaishnav, the mood of a Vaishnav, the expertise of a Vaishnav, everything there. That if our whole Krishna consciousness movement were to that standard, everybody would want to be a Vaishnav. People would think, these are such wonderful people. If only I could be with them. If only I could be like them. Those kinds of that friendly dealings, loving dealings, and practical dealings also. He wasn't just lovey-dovey, as we say in the West, but he could be strict, he could be particular. He knew how so many things should be done, down to little particular things. I remember one devotee was serving some fruit. I forget whether he was offering to the deity or offering to devotees. And Maharaj chastised him because he was putting mangoes with papayas. He said, "Don't you know anything? Because mango is sweet and sour, and papaya is bitter. So you're mixing these two different things, two different tastes that don't go together. Don't you know what you're doing?" So who would think of that? So many people would just say a fruit is a fruit. Apples, oranges, bananas, papayas, throw everything together, it's a salad, fruit. But Maharaj down to the particulars, that this fruit goes with that fruit and not with this fruit. In so many things, he was expert that way. I remember this is also I forget what time. Sometime I was staying, he had me stay with him in his quarters in Mayapur. There was extra space there, so I was staying with him. I think that's what was going on. And I was still in the world where we use towels we take our bath and we have towels. And maybe you wear a gamsha, but then you dry off with a towel. And then Maharaj said, no, I'll teach you the gamsha system. And he taught how to take proper bath, wrapping the gamsha around yourself, and then you put on the dry gamsha, and then you wash out the one you took bath in. And after washing it out, you use that to dry, and then you're set. And he had someone go out actually and buy 2 lal gamshas for me, and so I learned, that simple thing, but he taught it so nicely, and he was seeing to how to be helpful in everything, how we live, how we eat, how we deal with people. So he was so loving and lovable. Excuse me, just one moment. And Gaudiya Math also, they have so much affection for Bhakti Charu Maharaj. And he's also very affectionate to the devotees there. While at the same time, he was the super ISKCON loyalist, and making every disciple promise to follow the 4 rules, chant Hare Krishna, and never leave ISKCON, and always serve Srila Prabhupada. So he was ultra loyal to Prabhupada and to Prabhupada's society, Prabhupada and everything belonging to Prabhupada. One time he said that there's something going wrong, I forget what it was, and he had spoken out about it. And he said, what can I do? He said, I'm Prabhupada's dog. When someone's disturbing the master, the dog has to bark. So he was loyal to Prabhupada always, 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 acting as Prabhupada's servant. And yet he was loved by all the Vaishnavas, those who were in Prabhupada's line, those who were in other parts of our family. Because my time has come, so I'll just say one more thing. That one time in 1968, when Prabhupada was in Montreal, Canada, my god sister Rukmini asked, after the class, she asked a question. She said that Swamiji, that was Prabhupada's name back then, Swamiji, said sometimes we feel so far away from you when you're not here. And Prabhupada responded by telling the story of Krishna, of Arjuna, and how Arjuna had been sent to Dwarka to find out news of Krishna's activities. And when he came back, Yudhisthira Maharaj could see that he was completely dejected. And Yudhisthira was inquiring what could have happened. And then Arjuna revealed that Krishna has disappeared. But then the Bhagavatam says that Arjuna remembered Krishna's instructions that he delivered at the battlefield of Kurukshetra. And then he felt pacified. He felt, I think I'd have to look back. I was just going to look at this first when something came. But everything unwanted in his mind was dispelled, and he felt peaceful. He said, so Prabhupada said, so whenever you feel separation from your spiritual master, you should remember his words of instruction, as Arjuna remembered Krishna's words of instruction. And then you will not feel that he is distant. You will feel that he is with you. So that instruction is there for all of us. And the Maharaj's disciples are very fortunate to have come in touch with such a wonderful Vaishnav, to come under his shelter. And naturally, we're all feeling separation. But now, for the rest of your life, always remember his words of instruction, and you'll feel that he is with you. Maharaj also told another story, how one time he said to Srila Prabhupada that, I wish I could have been with you in those days, early days in New York City, when there was no one with you and to help you and you were all alone. And Prabhupada said, I was never alone. My Guru Maharaj was always with me. So let us remember Bhakti Charu Maharaj and his instructions and be always with him and have his association always. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Maharaj, thank you so much, Maharaj. We are so grateful. Please bless us that we can follow your instructions, and please continue to guide us. His Holiness Jaydvaita Swami Maharaj ki jai.
Bhakti Charu Maharaj ki jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Gaur Premanande. Shall I take your leave?